Hello fams, today we are going to be looking at multiplication and division of basic algebra. Now in our previous exposition we worked on addition and subtraction of algebra. We did justice to that. A great job was done on that. So today we're going to be working on multiplication and division of basic algebra. Now before we dive into this, there's something I want us to know, and there's it. Note that what happens to the coefficient isn't dependent on the identity of the variables. Now, when it comes to multiplication and division of basic algebra, what we do with a coefficient or with a constant is not dependent on the kinds of variables or knowns that we have, unlike the addition and subtraction of algebra. Now look at this. Now when we have 2s squared, don't forget that 2 or any of the figures we have is known or addressed as coefficient or constant, while the s raised power 2, that is the letters or the alphabet, are known as the variable or the constant. So we have 2s squared. The 2 here is a coefficient, while the x raised by 2 is a variable or constant. So we can break down either the coefficient or the variable into two parts, which are the base and the power. So this 2 raised by 1, this is x raised by 2. So if you look at this one here, this just ordinary theory, as you can see, we just have just a figure, that is, we just have a coefficient. But ordinary theory is the same thing as 3 raised by, that's 3x raised by 0, I beg your pardon. So it could be 3x raised by 0, 3, any of the alphabet you could think of, all together raised to power 0. So so if you look at the 3, this coefficient or constant, while the x raised by 0, the x here is, the x raised by 0 altogether is called the variable or the constant, while we can break down the 3 into the base and the constant. So this 3 raised by 1, just like x raised by 0. So it's time for us to work on a couple of basic introductions. Now we're going to be looking at this before we go to main examples. So when you look at this x times x, now don't forget the rule up there. The rule is when it comes to multiplication and division of basic algebra, what we do with a coefficient is not dependent or contingent on the kinds of unknowns or variables that we have. So when you look at that, this is x. Now, what kind of coefficient do we have here? There's no coefficient stated, but if there's no coefficient stated, it means we have 1, a positive 1. There's just plus 1. Now, why x here also no coefficient is stated, we have the same thing, plus 1. So when it comes to multiplication and division of basic algebra, what we have to do is simply this. We attend to the coefficient separately, while we attend to the variables or unknown separately. That's what we do. We don't care if these variables are the same or not. So let's attend to the coefficient separately first. That's plus 1 times plus 1. So plus 1 times plus 1. Plus times plus is plus. 1 times 1. Plus times plus is plus. 1 times 1 is 1. Now x raised by 1 times x raised by 1. Now when it comes to multiplication of multiplication and division of basic algebra, we have to really stay focused on what we do with the variables unknown. Now, when it comes to working on the variables unknown, don't forget that the powers are really what we stay focused on. So don't forget these two are the same, x and x, that's x times x. So what just have to do, we can just bring them together, x, we can use a dot or whatever we want to use, or a bracket. So this is x dot x, or plus 1 here, x bracket x. So this could be expressed as plus 1, that's just 1, s squared. So we have x side by side is s raised by 2. We have x, that's x, for example, x to 3 places is s raised by 3. So that's why we have this s squared. So let's look at another one. When we have, let's say x times x, for example. Let's say x times x, for example. Now, what kind of coefficient do we have here? Is t plus 1. What kind of coefficient do we have here? Is t plus 1 also. So what do? What we do is this. Let's make the coefficient have a communication first. So this plus 1 times plus 1, we end up with plus 1. Now, these two variables are not the same. So what we just have to do is to bring them together side by side, sy. So x times y is the same thing as x, y. So that is that for that. Okay, there's a first major worked example. So look at this, solve minus 3x times minus 4x squared. Now, how do we solve minus 3x times minus 4x squared? Don't forget that we're working on multiplication and division of basic algebra. Now, according to the rule, we don't care the kind of variables that we have. We don't really care about that. And this s raised power 1, there's two powers stated. This power 1 plus 1, this s is power 2. So those variables are not the same, but it doesn't dissuade us from getting our work done. So what we have here is minus 3 s is power 1 times minus 4 s is power 2. So the first thing we have to do is, don't forget the rule, attend first to the coefficient, and after you're done attend to a coefficient, then the next thing you have to do is to then attend to the variables or knowns that we have. So first of all, what kind of coefficient do we have? It is minus 3 and minus 4. So we're going to get that multiplied first, the 12 there. Minus 3 times minus 4. Minus times minus will give us plus. When you have equal signs, it's plus. Unequal signs will give you minus. So 3 times 4, that gives us 12. So we are done with the coefficient or constant. So the next we're going to work on now will be the variables or the unknown. So this x is power 1 times s is power 2. Now what does this mean? Now don't forget these two are not the same. So this is entirely different from addition and subtraction. So what does this mean? This just x. Then when it's time for us to work on the next section, which is advanced algebra, you're going to see these other indices. So this s is power 2, which is same thing as x times x. So if we bring all those three together, just like what we have up here, x and x. So if we bring this x and x together, we end up having x raised to power 3. So we have a base, and then we have a power. So what's our result? Plus 12x is power 3, which is same thing as 12x raised to power 3. So question 2, solve 2x times minus 4y. Now how do we solve 2x times minus 4y? Now the first thing we have to do is to check out the kinds of variables and constants that we have. And don't forget that if the variables or the unknowns are different, it doesn't stop us from working. Now what do we have here? This x is power plus 1. This is y raised to power 1. They're entirely different. The bases are different. The powers, although, are the same, but they're not the same variable. So what we just have to do here first is to work separately on the coefficient or the constant, and after that we work separately on the unknown or variable. So here we have plus 2, and right here we have minus 4. So first of all, we're going to get the coefficient combined. So this plus 2 times minus 4. Plus is minus. That gives us minus. Then 2 times 4 is 8. Now these two are not the same. They are very different. So what do we do? What we just have to do is x and y. Since they are not the same, the bases are different. The powers are the same. So it means they are not the same. So what we just have to do whenever we have a situation like this is to bring them together side by side. This dot also means multiplication. S dot y, or just xy like this. So this minus 8sy. But if they are the same, just like this, s is for 1 times s for 2, the bases are the same. We can bring them together. Just s is for 1 is x, s is for 2 is s times s as x, that's s times s I mean. They bring them together, you end up having this stuff in index form. So that's that for that. Okay, here's a third example. Solve 4y cubed divided by 2y squared. Now, how do we solve 4y cubed divided by 2y squared? Now, it's very simple. And don't forget, if we check out the variables that we have, as you can see, the variables are entirely different. These are different. This y is power 3, this y is power 2. Although we have the same basis, but different powers. So it doesn't really mean the variables are different variables, but they are workable. We can work on them. We can work with them, I mean. So this plus 4 and this plus 2, two different coefficients also. So the first thing I have to do is to get the coefficients worked on. So this plus 4 and then this plus 2. So plus 4 divided by plus 2. So probably we could do it this way. Just put it this way. This is the best format. Plus 4y cubed divided by plus 2 y raised by 2. That's the best format. So we handle the signs and the coefficients separately, and then we handle the unknowns or variables separately. So this plus 4 here times y raised by 3 is y times y into 3 places. So this plus 2, then y times y. That's what we have. So plus and plus combined give us plus. We know that already. When the signs are the same, we have positive result. When the signs are different, negative. So 2 here 1, 2 here 2, we have that stated. So y can take out y, 1. So what do we have left? We just have ordinary 2 of that. So this plus 2y. So that's just that. So when it comes to multiplication and division of third, nothing stops us from solving what we are asked to solve, regardless of if the variables are the same or not. Okay, quickly, let's see the differences between the addition and subtraction operation, and the division and multiplication operation. So we're going to be solving a couple of questions involving these two operations in order for us to clearly enumerate the major differences between them. So don't forget this, as you can see, this group here is addition and subtraction operation group, while this is multiplication and division operation group. So here we have a question that's number one, this minus 3s squared plus 4s squared. Under this, y here, minus 3s squared times 4s squared. So don't forget, under the addition and subtraction operation, it's very, very important for us to have identical variables or unknowns. So what kind of variable do we have here? This is x squared power 2, x squared power 2. So the bases are the same, while the powers are also the same. As you can see, the bases plus 2 plus 2. So it means we can combine the coefficients together. So when it comes to addition and subtraction of basic algebra, what we just have to stay focused on is simply the kinds of variables. So when the variables are the same, as you can see, what we just have to do next is to combine the coefficients together. Minus 3 plus 4. So minus 3 plus 4 will give us what? Plus 1. So that's plus 1. So when we're done with that, we just pick one of the variables, as simple as that. So this just s squared. But when it comes to multiplication and division, unlike this, for multiplication and division, minus 3s squared times 4s squared. So first of all, this is not addition and subtraction. Here we have a multiplication here. So what we just have to do first is, under this, the coefficients we have a separate communication, and then the variables or the unknown, we have their own separate communication. So nothing is dependent on the other here. So that's minus 3 here, while that's plus 4. So minus times plus will give us minus 3 times 4 is 12. So x is power 2 times x is power 2. You know what it is. So that's x times s times x times x, then times x times x. You have x into 4 places, which is s raised to power 4 in index form. So this minus 12x raised to power 4. So that's the big difference between the two of them. Okay, here's another question, just to help us know the big difference between them. So that's 12xy minus 15x y raised to power 2. That's that for the very first session under addition and subtraction. While here is 12xy divided by minus 15x y raised to power 2. So let's see the difference, the conspicuous difference between the two of them. So as you can see, there's no multiplication or division involved. So what we just have to do, the rule is we have to make sure that we have identical unknowns or variables. So are the variables or unknown identical? Let's see. So this s is power 1, s is power 1, the same variable here. So but we are not done with that. This y raised to power 1, y raised to power 2, so they're not the same, they're different. So this xy, while this is xy squared. So we have different variables. So it means these two coefficients can't combine or communicate. So the plus 12 and minus 15 can't have a communication. So what we just have to do, our final result is still 12xy minus 15xy squared, except we want to factorize. So we're done with that. There's no way forward with this. So the next is plus 12xy divided by minus 15xy squared. Now when it comes to division or multiplication of basic algebra, we don't really care if the variables are the same. As you can see, they're different. So what we just have to do here when it comes to this, either they are the same or not the same. The rule is work on the coefficients separately, and after that, you work on the variables separately. So let's get that done. So this plus 12xy divided by minus 15xy squared. So you know what it is. That's it. Plus and minus will give us minus. We know that already. So 12 is, you know what it is, 12 times x times y over 15 times x times y times y. So you can easily use 3 to break this down. So 3 4, 3 5, x takes out x, y takes out y. So what do we have? We have minus 4 over 5, minus 4 over 5y. That's what we have as our final result. Okay, guys, at this very point in time is high time we got our set tested to know how much we've gotten from today's exposition. So yeah, a couple of questions as a take home. So the first is under this very group, don't forget addition and subtraction and multiplication and division. So under this very group, we have solve or simplify minus 10x plus 5xy, while on the other side minus 10x times 5xy. That's that for the first set. So the second set, solve 25y squared x to the power 3 or s cubed minus 50 s cubed y squared. That's that. Then the other side, 25y squared s cubed divided by minus 50 s cubed y squared. So I'll allow you to solve all this for me and leave your answers in the comment session. So at a very point in time, we're doing the continuing of today's exposition. So if you found this resourceful, please subscribe to this very channel and share this exposition. See you in the next exposition. Thanks.